So, welcome to another episode of Brit and Poland. We're just leaving Frombork. Frombork was home to Nicolaus Copernicus for about 30 years, and it very much honours his memory. There's a lovely kind of cathedral complex, there's a planetarium, and there is Poland's oldest water tower from the 16th century, originally from the 14th. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's not always as sunny as it looks behind me, admittedly, but it's been a fun day out. Frombork, it may not be the biggest place in Poland, but it's definitely worth a visit, so please stay tuned.
Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. With this channel, I travel across the country, I bring you the culture, and I show you just how amazing Poland is. So I invite you on my journey. If you want to see more, I have Facebook and Instagram profiles, which you will find links to in the description below. And if you want to really help out, you can turn to my Patreon or Patronite accounts, again in the description. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Do zobaczenia.
Frombork lies in northern Poland, on the southern shore of the Vistula Lagoon, in the Warmian Mazurian voivodeship, or Braniewo County. It's, as I said, quite small, and actually approximately 8 kilometers square in size, and roughly has a population around 2,200. It was first mentioned in historical records in 1278, and granted town rights in 1310. Frombork, it doesn't waste your time. You arrive, you look up, and boom, a cathedral fortress staring down at you like a boss. This little town shaped one of history's biggest ideas, but it carries that legacy quietly, almost shyly. Today, I'm climbing the hill, exploring the courtyards, the towers, the lagoon views, and yes, following the ghost of Copernicus himself. Welcome to Frombork, Poland's small town with a cosmic story. Frombork's roots go back to the late 13th century, first recorded in 1278, but politics then were a bit tricky. The town began under the shared rule of the Teutonic Knights and the Bishopric of Warmia, not yet part of a fully sovereign Poland as we know it today. Yet the bishopric was one of the most influential religious and administrative centres in the entire north. By 1310, Frombork officially became a town, and the cathedral complex rose swiftly. Soaring Gothic walls, fortified towers, and heavy gates built to protect both faith and frontier. And it would need every one of those defences. Frombork endured centuries of upheaval. Polish Teutonic wars, Swedish invasions, fires, and rebuilding. Every stone carries the memory of a siege or a storm. In 1454, the town pledged allegiance to the Polish king, Casimir IV Jagiellon, and in 1466, during the Second Peace of Form, it was formally made part of the Kingdom of Poland. So yes, from its earliest foundations to the cathedral you see now, Frombork's story is deeply Polish at its core, yet forever shaped by the shifting frontiers of greater powers. And then came the man who would quietly change everything. Nicolaus Copernicus, scholar, physician, administrator, and one of the 16 canons of the Warmian chapter. That title was no honorific, it carried real power and responsibility. As a canon, he had a residence here, duties to the town, estates to manage, patients to heal, and in the quiet hours, the freedom to watch the heavens with instruments so simple they feel almost humble today. From around 1510 until his death in 1543, Frombork was his home. He walked these courtyards overlooking the calm Vistula Lagoon, served the community, and within these very walls completed De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, the book that placed the sun at the centre and set the earth in motion. A cosmic revolution born in a fortified town beside a quiet northern lagoon. For centuries, the exact spot of Copernicus's grave remained a mystery. We knew he lay somewhere beneath the cathedral he had served, but nothing more. Then, in 2005, archaeologists found him beneath the altar of the Holy Cross. And after careful study, including DNA matched to stray hairs preserved in his books in Uppsala, he was reburied in 2010 beneath a sleek black granite tombstone crowned with a golden model of the heliocentric solar system. A resting place finally worthy of the man who redrew the universe. But Frombork's story did not end with the man who changed the sky. In the centuries that followed, it weathered Swedish raids, passed to Prussia after the first partition of Poland in 1772, became part of Germany, and returned to Poland after the Second World War. Much of the town lay in ruins in 1945, the cathedral hill itself heavily battered, and what stands today is the fruit of decades of loving, meticulous reconstruction. Even now, the Earth still yields secrets. In 2024, archaeologists unearthed another rare 16th century astronomical compass in the Canonical Gardens. The second such instrument found here, and the very type Copernicus is shown holding in portraits, proof that the hill still remembers. And from frontier fortress to quiet cradle of revolution to historical sanctuary, Frombork keeps refinding its place in history. So now we're going to explore Frombork. So you've learned the background, let's learn about what you can see. So we had to take a bus here from Elbląg, and it was a pretty short journey, about 30-40 minutes. And yes, instantly you're greeted with the cathedral, but we're going to start at the water tower. So this is a chunky little brick giant from 1571, widely recognized as the oldest water tower in Poland. These days it's retired from duty and enjoying life as a viewpoint tower. But you can still see its industrial bones, the rivets, the arches, the massive bucket mechanism that once lifted water to the hill above. It's funny, in most towns a water tower is just a water tower. Here, even the infrastructure gets a scenic hillside location and a historical first. Now, if you want to go inside the tower, I think it was something like 10 zloty. You could have got an audio guide, which I don't think we bothered with. You get binoculars given to you at the front desk. Inside there's a little museum, and you're mainly going up there for the view, though, I presume. And you get a good one. So you get to see out to the lagoon. You get some nice scenic shots of the cathedral hill. And it's honestly worth it. You know, there's a little gift shop at the bottom as well. So it's definitely a nice stopover point, especially if you're a bit of a photographer and you want to get some nice shots. And Frombork is a very picturesque city, so it's definitely worth a go. So we're going to leave the water tower and head over to the statue of Copernicus. Now, this is pretty tall. It was made in 1973 to mark the 50th anniversary of his birth. And I believe it's made of bronze, though it looks very very stone, but no. And that gives you an idea of the scale. I'm not exactly a midget. And next you have the Church of St. Wojciech. And this one, it's often kind of overlooked by tourists. Apparently it's not always accessible, so we were lucky to get inside. And yeah, I mean, this one, it's also known as St. Aldebert. And it's just a nice little Gothic piece. But of course, most tourists will go straight to Cathedral Hill, and we have quite a lot to see here. So I'm going to try and take you through bit by bit. So basically, it's a fortified monastery, like a kind of little city in miniature. We're going to start at the cathedral itself, which is, you could say, the main draw, though some might debate that. And this was built in the 14th century and is a Gothic basilica. And it's actually one of the oldest brick cathedrals in Poland. And the moment you enter, everything slows down. The outside world disappears and you're surrounded by soaring pillars, ribbed vaults, soft light filtering through stained glass, and the quiet hum of centuries. This is the church where Copernicus prayed, served, worked, and eventually was laid to rest. Every echo in here feels like it carries the weight of his footsteps. And the interior blends medieval structure with later Baroque additions, elaborating altars, carved confessionals, and intricate chandeliers that bring warmth to the colder Gothic brick. It's a fusion of styles built not all at once, but over generations, each era leaving its own signature. Look closely and you'll find memorial plaques to former canons, astronomical motifs woven into side chapels, and the modern black granite tombstone marking the rediscovered resting place of Copernicus. Simple, elegant, and utterly fitting for a man who put the sun in the middle. And you'll probably spend a few minutes. Like with everything in the cathedral complex, you have to pay entry to get in. I think you can get a combined ticket for the cathedral and the planetarium, at least the planetarium tower. It seemed that like everything had to be paid for, every door you go through, and not always from the same place, which made things fun. But we're going to go to it's called the Radziejowski Tower and the planetarium. It's just a short walk from the cathedral, and it's a massive 17th century brick stronghold that once served as a defensive lookout, a bell tower, and even living quarters for the canons. Today it hides a surprise inside, which is Frombork's planetarium, tucked right into its ancient walls. I didn't catch a show this time, but honestly, just climbing it felt like its own kind of astronomical journey. It's a vertical labyrinth of stone staircases, wooden landings, narrow passages, and thick brick walls that make you feel like you're ascending through layers of history. Every turn gives you a different glimpse, a window overlooking the lagoon, a peek at the cathedral roof tiles, and a corridor lit by a single medieval slit. And the higher you go, the more the air shifts, thinner, colder, and quieter. And you get an amazing view. I mean, this is the best view of the city. And you can really see the surrounding countryside, and you get a better sense for what Frombork is. It may have these very dramatic sights in the middle, but it's surrounded by beautiful nature. So it's something quite special. And next, we're going to go to the museum, which I can say if you love Copernicus, you're going to absolutely adore this. And this is a place that gathers centuries of history into one tightly packed collection. It's not the biggest museum, but it's wonderfully curated. A blend of archaeology, medieval sacred art, scientific instruments, manuscripts, and everyday objects from the Warmian region. You walk from room to room, and it feels a little like time travel. One moment you're looking at Gothic sculptures and 700-year-old liturgical art. The next you're standing in front of early astronomical instruments, replicas of the simple tools Copernicus used. And it's nothing flashy. And yeah, it's really cool. I like that you have these kind of futuristic displays, but it's more about the artifacts, really. And it really, I think everything was in English as well, if I remember correctly. So if you want to learn more about the city and Copernicus's life, then you really do learn a lot here. And yeah, it didn't take too long to walk around. I mean, you probably want to give yourself an hour just for safety. I think, again, it had a separate entry fee, which you had to buy the ticket from like one of the gates. So it was a bit confusing. I wish they had like an all-in-one ticket for the whole area. And yeah, we're just walking around the outside now, because it's worth kind of going to the, let's say, the back as well, because you see things such as Copernicus's house. There are a few like kind of nice buildings. You get a lovely view of the one of the main gates. I guess in medieval times, maybe this was the main gate to actually get into the complex. And outside there's this place which is the Canon's residence, and just outside, it's quite easy to miss unless you wander a little. And I literally just stepped through the gate into a quiet courtyard, and it was a nice little hidden corner. It wasn't a royal palace, but more of a former canon's residence, a graceful building used by the clergy and administrators who once ran the chapter's estates. Simple, elegant, with soft pastel walls and a calm little courtyard. Feels frozen somewhere between the 18th and 19th centuries. And we're going to continue wandering. There's a wonderful memorial to the Warsaw Uprising here. You have to remember those that fought for Poland and fought for its freedom. And we're going to go into perhaps an area that a lot of tourists don't really wander to, but I would definitely recommend, if you're spending a day in Frombork, then you want to kind of head over. So we're passing, of course, everything is branded Copernicus. It's the main draw of this city, I think, for most people. As well as the amazing architecture, just the real sense of history is quite important. And you see a lot of very nice buildings. Like, you get the sense that a lot of them are a little bit more modern. And here is one of the famous Polish storks, which I just happened to catch. And it's like, I guess he's looking after his eggs. Polish fire station, which, I'm sort of collecting shots of these as I go around the city. And this is the cemetery, just on the outskirts. I didn't venture inside this time, but thought it was worth it. And I saw this plaque to Napoleon, so I guess he passed through here, which makes sense because it is kind of on the way to Russia, and it's actually, very close to the Russian border technically. And we're going to go to another very historical site, and this is the kind of garden for it, the Hospital of the Holy Spirit. And it's like a short walk from the cathedral, and it takes you to a very different kind of building. It's small, unassuming, and quite easy to overlook, but this place tells a quieter, more human story. Built in the late Middle Ages, it wasn't a hospital in the modern sense, but more of a charitable refuge, a place where the poor, the sick, the elderly, and travellers could find care, food, and shelter. In a town governed by the powerful Warmian chapter, this is where the church's compassion took a practical, everyday form. The building itself is beautifully simple, modest Gothic. Inside, you have this great museum which preserves fragments of the old medieval pharmacy, objects used for care, displays about daily life in Frombork through the centuries. It's the perfect counterbalance to the towering cathedral. Up on the hill, you have grand ideas, astronomy, politics and faith, and here, down on the street level, you see part of the history that cared for ordinary people. And I was actually surprised. It was a very well-organised museum, a lot of interesting exhibits, a lot of interesting paintings, and you can definitely get the feeling that they went through their fair share of plagues. The room full of kind of body parts was especially fascinating. Wasn't expecting to see that. Now we're going to head back into the centre to kind of see the last few places. So we're heading to Frombork's main square, and this is a small, quiet space that forms the everyday heart of the town. It's not a grand market square like you'd find in Gdansk or Torun, but that's exactly its charm. Frombork is tiny, and its square feels more like a community living room than a tourist stage. A few cafes, colourful houses, a bit of greenery, and the low hum of local life drifting between the buildings. And here you have the bronze statue of Copernicus, which, a lot of people will sit next to and, of course, get a selfie. Because, you have to, really. It was the medieval marketplace centuries ago where traders, fishermen, and townspeople gathered. Today, it's quieter, almost sleepy, but every now and then you catch a moment, a bell ringing above, a dog wandering across the square, sunlight bouncing off the pastel facades. It feels beautifully real. And next to it, you have Platz Gornikov, which I kind of take as like an extension of the square, really. This is actually where we went to eat after our adventures, and they had quite a lot of seafood, funnily enough, it being on the coast and all. And God, I ordered way too much in this place, and it was one of those, man versus food experiences. The portions here were very good, actually. I started with my one of my favorites, Jurek. I just love this soup, it's amazing. And this was my main. Oh God, surprisingly, that was very filling. And my friend Paulina, she got this fish pie. She said it was a little bit dry, which is surprising. So next we're heading out, and there's this little church on the way. It's like the former St. Nicholas Church. And it was originally a medieval parish church, which served the fishermen, craftsmen, and merchants who lived down in the lower town. Now it's kind of a building site, but it's still, pretty cool, a little artifact. And I think you can see some more kind of medieval towers as well, which is, just this nice little touch. And now we're reaching the end. So from here, the streets drift gently towards the water, and the whole mood of Frombork changes. You leave the red brick history behind and step into the quieter charm of the harbour. A cluster of small boats rocking calmly on the lagoon. It's not a big port, not anymore, but the fishing boats, wooden jetties, and soft creaking of ropes give it a kind of timeless Baltic atmosphere. The cathedral towers kind of peek over the treetops behind you, watching silently as the lagoon stretches out like a sheet of grey-blue grass. And a short walk further brings you to Frombork's beach and sea walkway, a broad, open path running right along the water's edge. It's peaceful, simple, and wonderfully unpretentious. Families strolling, cyclists passing by, wind carrying the smell of the lagoon. And from here you realise just how dramatic the cathedral really is, rising steeply behind the town, fortress on top, open water in front. It's easy to see why this place was chosen as a centre of faith and science. The horizon feels endless. It's the perfect place to slow down, breathe out, and let the day settle. After all the towers and manuscripts and centuries of history, this little stretch of water gives Frombork a quiet, modern heartbeat. And, of course, it gives you a little extra selfie space as well. It may not be the most dramatic of beaches, but there's a nice little beach bar where we stop for a beer, where you could order a bit of food. There's this kind of pier that comes out into the water, which is pretty cool. But thank you for sticking around on my Frombork journey. And next week, I think we're going to go to El Blanc and its famous canal. But thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Please give the video a like. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of Poland. Thank you, and do zobaczenia.